If you are looking for another way to make Gortash throw a temper tantrum, may I suggest blowing up his Steelwatch Foundry. A fun activity for the whole party and could earn you some allies for the big fight to come. If you are interested, then you are in the right place, because in this video I will share my tips and tricks for completing the Steelwatch Foundry. Let's get into it. First, you gotta get into the place. The best way I've found is to go to this ledge at the water temple and make your way to that dock across the way. Things like Fly and Longstrider will come in handy here, so you can jump to the rock in the water and then to the dock. Once you are on the dock, I recommend quickly taking out the Steelwatcher that is patrolling this area. With your whole party, the fight should be easy. Next, I went ahead and lockpicked these doors. Be careful doing this though, as there are enemies on the other side that can spot you and throw you into combat. You can fight alongside the Gondians in this area if you saved them from the Iron Throne. I opted to avoid this combat, so after lockpicking the door, I went invisible and threw the game into turn-based mode. You will need to make your way down to the basement, but to do that you will need to go to the security office and lockpick that door. Once inside, you will find steps that descend to the basement. It's important to note that your whole party does not need to follow you to the basement. Once you click to enter the basement, magically your whole party will teleport to you. In my experience, once I entered the basement, I was immediately thrown into a fight against the Steelwatchers and some other enemies. In this fight, the Gondians were allies again. For this fight, I recommend dealing with the Steelwatchers first. You will only need to get them to below 50 hit points, and then the Steelwatchers will explode on their next turn. You will know that one is about to explode when you see the red circle around them. Try to not get caught in this blast, but also see if you can get some enemies in this blast range. I found that in this fight, the area of effect spells were not great, since I didn't want to hurt the Gondians in the fight. Extra allies like the spiritual weapon, the planar allies, and the elementals were helpful in this fight to do damage and take hits. The enemy cultists in this fight will drop motivators when they die. The motivator will explode in one turn, but you can defuse them if you make it there fast enough. After you finish this fight, loot all of the bodies, but especially Hanhs' Rives to get a key. Use this key to open the control center antechamber. In this room, you can make some interesting choices regarding the citizens and the Steelwatchers. Once you've done that, go through the control center door, and inside you will find 3 Steelwatchers and the control panel you will need. The control panel is located straight across the room from the door you just entered in and behind one of the Steelwatchers. If you enter combat, a Steelwatcher Titan will appear in the center of the room. You can do this fight and you will get a legendary bow that is actually pretty great. But if you don't want the loot or to do the fight, you can completely avoid it. To avoid this fight, make someone invisible and enter turn-based mode. Run to the back of the room behind the Steelwatcher and to the control panel. Interact with this panel, but be aware that you will lose invisibility as soon as you interact with it. You should be unnoticed though, since you are behind all of the Steelwatchers. From there you can pick some options and you can blow up the foundry without a fight. I chose to do this fight though, so here are some tips if you do that as well. Mainly, lightning damage will be your friend as the enemies are vulnerable to it. Confusion is also a great spell to have here, as there is a chance that one of the enemies will hit another enemy. I brought in more allies for this fight as well, such as the Jinn, Air Elemental, and Spiritual Weapon. I recommend taking out the Titan first, as it has the most hit points and is the harder opponent in the fight. After that, the Steelwatchers shouldn't be too hard to fight. Get them below 50 hit points so that on their next turn they explode. If you can do this with ranged attacks, that would be best, so you avoid being in the explosion range. With those tips, you should be able to defeat the enemies and proceed with the control panel. I hope this walkthrough was helpful, and please leave your tips and experience down below. As always, thanks for watching and good luck on your adventures.